Hi, my name's Matt. I'm the social media manager for Music Football Fatherhood, also known as MFF, and I'm joined with my co-host, Alec.
Hey, nice to meet you.
In case you know what MFF is, we are the UK's most exciting parenting and lifestyle platform for men, the dad's version of Mumsnet, the BBC. We've been given a fantastic opportunity to preview the new book by Dr. Ranj, How to Grow Up. So I hope you enjoyed the interview as much as we did enjoy doing it. Dr. Ranj, just to let you know, it's a pleasure meeting you, but I've had emergency dental procedure this morning, so half my face is numb. So I don't normally look like this or engage like this. So.
Oh, no worries. I totally understand.
He normally looks worse than that.
Oh, no.
Like, I used to like
Someone was going to say that. Somebody was going to. Wasn't going to be me.
Leave yourself open to things like that, then. You know what?
What could I say? I can't deny these allegations. It's fine. Right, so let's get started with this. Dr. Ranj is an NHS consultant, A&E paediatrician, and one of the residential doctors on ITV's This Morning. He's also co-created the BAFTA award-winning CBBC series Get Well Soon and presented ITV's primetime Save Money, Lose Weight and Dr. Ranj on Call. Ranj was a hugely popular contestant on 2018 Strictly Come Dancing. Off air, his work can be found in numerous magazines, podcasts, and on websites where he gives expert opinions and advice on a range of physical and mental health matters. Can you get any more higher profile than that?
That's very kind. You can. I can't swim, so
Room
I'm
for
sure I
improvement.
can do better. I can do better. I can always do better.
No,
Thank
but
you. That's very kind.
It's absolute pleasure for us to have the privilege to be able to talk to you, and yeah, just be able to discuss the whole process about your book is amazing, because we've been very privileged to be able to get an advanced copy of it to read through it. And I myself must say, I think it's a fantastic book. It is well presented, illustrated, and the language used in it is very user friendly. I love reading it because I hear your voice when I read it. And I'm a big fan of you and what you do and what you're about, because you're very passionate about the job you undertake. And I think it says a lot when people are passionate about the job they do and not just doing it to get paid. Like, don't get me wrong, we need money, I appreciate it, but when you have a passion to do what you do, it means you'll do that much more of a better job.
Yeah.
And I think when that oozes through the work you do then off your day job, and kids read it, they'll relate to it a lot more.
Yeah.
I just love that. I'm sorry, there's one passion I want to read out your book, because I just think it was so powerful and it hit me. And it says, being a boy isn't defined by how you look, behave, or whether you like certain things. It's not about where you come from or what clothes you wear. It's not about what color you like, what your hobbies are, or what you want to be when you grow up. It's also not about who you fancy or fall in love with. You don't have to be any particular way. Everyone is different. So just be true to who you are. And I think that is so beautiful, so powerful, and will resonate hopefully with every single person that reads your book. Yeah. I love the way you've mixed in the illustrations. The illustrations are so detailed, but at the same time very cartoonish, so they're relatable. You've got the headers where you always address a certain song so someone can listen to that song as you do. And I think, you know, you're amazing at a lot of things. Like Strictly Come Dancing was a bit of a hurtful thing, because I thought dance was my forte. You just enjoyed that for me now. Thank you very much. But you now do the book, and it just seems to be so well done. It feels like you're a triple threat in terms of anything and everything you touch is amazingly well constructed.
That's very kind.
I like to give people credit where it's due. If you was younger, and this is the question I would like to ask you, if you was younger and this book existed, what would you have hoped to have got from reading a book like this?
Wow. It's funny you say that. I'm actually tearing up as you said that. I needed this book when I was younger. I needed somebody to speak to me and say, it's okay. That's not to say that people neglected me or weren't there for me. When I was growing up, there wasn't anything like this around that spoke to boys like me. And I talk about, there's a passage right at the end of my acknowledgements that I do at the end of the book where I thank everyone. And I do message, I do a little message to myself. It says, that little boy who just wanted to be happy but kept everything buried deep inside has finally been given a chance to speak. I wrote this for you, and I want you to know that you are awesome no matter what, and please don't worry, it gets better. Boys, young men go through so many challenges, so many difficulties. Some have great lives, some have great difficulties. And it's up to us, I think, as grown-ups to be there for them and support them no matter what they're going through and give them the best chance they possibly can. These people, these young people, have so much potential, have so much untapped potential. And I just wanted to help them to dream. This is what I wanted to do, to inspire them, to get them to dream, to think, do you know what? I'm not the only person going through this. There is support there for me out there. There is a way to make things better. I'm not alone. And I needed to hear that when I was younger. I needed to read something like this and feel reassured and feel like I had a companion. And that's kind of what I wanted to put across in this book. A piece of me is in there, definitely. I just hope that young boys and men pick this up and are inspired by it, are inspired to be the best that they can be, no matter what they're good at, no matter who they are, where they're from, what they like or love. Just be your best. And that's all I want you to do. Sure, life is tough, but when things get hard, speak up, ask for help. There's no shame in asking for help and admitting vulnerability. And that's a message that we need to get across to boys, I think, across the board.
Nice to meet you.
You too.
Just to kind of give you a little bit about me, I'm a dad with 2 young boys, school age, homeschooling joys at the moment. Love the book. Really, I guess the reason why it struck a chord with me is because this sits in the sweet spot of where I'm at with kind of raising kids. My eldest has just turned 11. I've literally just bought him, when was it now? Towards the end of last year, a book called The Guy Book, which talks about the physical elements and puberty and all that. And then over the last few years, I've been buying him books like Stories for Boys Who Dare to Be Different, and all of the series and all things, and Big Life Journal for kids and so on. So when found out about this, I was like, the guys just contacted me because they knew I'd be I'd be all over it. So too many questions about it, really. But from my own perspective, it felt that so much of it was relevant for parents to understand. Was that an intention for it to be?
Yeah, it kind of was. So basically, this book is aimed at young boys and anybody that might be interested in the challenges that young boys face right now growing up. And be that their parents, their siblings. It can be for anybody, but it was primarily aimed at that age group and that target audience. But we have to remember that parents are often gatekeepers. Parents and carers are gatekeepers for their children and for the people in their care. And they will often look at books and just make sure they are appropriate and make sure that they agree with some of the content. So I was very mindful of that as well as speaking to young people, I was also speaking to their parents. So it kind of serves a dual purpose in that respect. But it was an intention on my part to be able to try to speak to as many people as possible.
And when you say young boys, what age did you have in mind?
Yeah. So roughly speaking, I suppose you could say from the ages of 10 to 14, above the age of 10, just as you're starting to enter your sort of secondary school teenage years. When life is changing so much, the world is changing so much, and you and your body and your mind are changing so much. That's the age group primarily that it's aimed at, but it very much depends on the young person. Some people are physically and mentally mature a bit sooner. Some people physically and mentally mature a bit later. So I'm not strict, and I don't really mention the age group in the book at all. It's to anybody who wants to pick it up and feels like it speaks to them. Please feel free.
Yeah, so and that was why I deliberately asked about age, because I didn't see anything about it, and I thought, well, it was, and it did feel like it was more about maturity level more than anything else.
Yeah.
Because from a personal perspective, I wouldn't necessarily call myself not liberal, but I'm quite happy to discuss those types of things with my eldest son. But I appreciate that not everybody is, especially when you come to the relationships and body parts and stuff like that, and even when. The school were looking to start talking about that level of, I guess, your intimate parts and so on. That, you know, they had to ask our permissions, and there was discussions and so on, so forth about it. So, what do you feel about those bits of the book in particular, and how it might be taken?
Well, I think first and foremost, I had to be honest and authentic. So everything you see or read in the book is something that I've either experienced personally or professionally as a doctor. So it's all stuff that is coming directly from me. And I wanted that authenticity to come through because I want the reader to be able to trust me. I also wanted to be honest. It's very important. I know some of the subject matter can be quite embarrassing. As you said, some of the subject matter is quite intimate, but it's still important. It's really, really, in fact, so you could argue that that sort of subject matter is the stuff we really need to get right because it's so tricky. And I wanted to take some of that pressure away from parents and carers and say, okay, tell you what, if you're finding it tricky, and I know it's not easy to talk about this stuff because you're scared about saying the wrong thing, or you're scared about saying too much, am I saying too little? Is it appropriate? Let me take some of that work away from you. I've spent time thinking about this. I've done this professionally. Let me do some of that work for you and present it in a way that the young people in your life can understand. But yeah, I wanted to be honest about it though. So it's very direct in places because it has to be. Young people appreciate that. They want to be spoken to like, almost like grown-ups, but not quite like grown-ups. They want you to take them seriously. They want to feel like you're listening to them. They want you to feel like you're not treating them like children, as it were, but as young adults. So that was really important to me. And I wanted to make sure that we try to cover as much as possible, especially the slightly icky, embarrassing stuff.
Nice. And then one of the other things that's stood out to me, and it's not just with, you know, like your book, but it's kind of books in this space. So when there are engaged parents, that's great because they'll go out and buy your book. And for me, it was, and the note I sent on to Sarah was, my concern is that the kids from those homes that are at the higher end of the socioeconomic kind of, scale and middle class families and so on, you know, they'll get to see it. You know, are there any efforts to say, you know, how do we get this book into the hands of as many kids, as many boys as we possibly can? Because for me, if it were my book, that's what I'd be trying to do. You know, every single school, every library, so you know, you don't have to be able to buy it. So, are there any plans around that?
That would be the dream for me. Absolutely the dream. So coming from a culture, I'm a person of color. I come from a working class background. I know all too well how sometimes books can speak to a certain segment of society, usually middle class, Caucasian, well-educated, well-off. Yeah. And I grew up, because of that reason, and the only access I had to books was schools and libraries. So they were hugely important to me. My mum used to march me down to our local library every week to make sure I read books. And there are ways around this now. And I totally understand that sometimes books can feel like a luxury. And I think they're not always accessible to everyone. So I've tried to make this as accessible as possible in terms of the content I cover to try and make it accessible as possible. And also in terms of the pictures and illustrations we have. I always had throughout the entire time I was writing it, I sat there and I thought, am I making this as relevant and as universal and as inclusive as I possibly can so that anybody that does pick it up feel like it does speak to them? But at the same time, I completely agree with you. We need to work to get books like this in every school. We need to work to get books like this in every library and make sure that kids, especially from working class and lower income backgrounds, and deprived areas have access to stuff like this. The internet plays a good part in some of that, I think, because it means that you don't physically have to go anywhere, particularly right now where we're trying to be safe. But yeah, I'd love to work with people to try and get this in as many hands as possible, especially those underprivileged kids, those underrepresented kids, and those kids that often get forgotten about.
Yeah. If ever there was a time, when men and boys are getting beaten up left, right, and center for just being and not understanding why, then it's now, right?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. We've had such a tough year in so many ways. And I think that books like this, there's plenty of them out there. There's some great ones you've already mentioned. They are so essential right now and so important. And I really hope that people find them helpful.
Well,
yeah, no doubt.
I just want to end because obviously I'm short of time. Book is fantastic. I immensely enjoyed it. It made me want to be a better parent by understanding words and being able to communicate with my child in a way that meets them at where they are. And I think there are a lot of single mothers as well that will have this book and will find it so helpful, so resourceful, especially when you've got boys that are amongst girls. They need to know about the difference in what's going on. So I think your book hits on so many different points and it's needed out there. So I, at the very least, want to say thank you very much for creating it, for giving us the opportunity to read it and to obviously speak with you. It's amazing. I hope every bit of success for this book, and I'll do my utmost to push it as much as possible.
Thank you.
People know about it, because let's be fair, we all need help, and that's what we're here to do.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much.
Wow. Just wow. That was such a fantastic opportunity to speak to such an amazing human being who's created such a fantastic book that will help countless individuals. All right. Now, while we're on the topic of amazing books, let me remind you that we're releasing our book, Dad, in spring 2021. Do you know what? Run a trailer.
Who does a dad turn to when the love of their life and mother of their children dies during childbirth? How does postnatal depression affect men? How does it feel for a gay dad to go through the surrogacy process? What are the challenges of being a black dad and raising a mixed-race child? What is the experience of a dad on shared parental leave? Or a stay-at-home dad going against traditional gender stereotypes? We at Music Football Fatherhood are telling their stories, and stories of other dads in our new book, Dad, Untold Stories from the Front Line of Fatherhood.
Please get in contact with us if you like our content. You can find us on our website, which is musicfootballfatherhood.com. We're on socials, Instagram and Twitter at MFF_online. And you can also find us on YouTube. Just search Music Football Fatherhood. Thank you very much for your time. And thank you again to Dr. Ranj and his fantastic book, How to Grow Up. Pick it up when it drops. Speak to you soon.